Raphael Brown was in a Singapore boardroom, surrounded by investors in $1,000 suits, when Camera 9 flashed a motion alert. The nursery. He'd checked it 17 times that day already, a routine that had become obsession. But when the image loaded, his breath caught in his throat. Mildred, the 24-year-old caregiver he'd hired 3 weeks ago, was doing something that made his blood run cold. Not because it was dangerous, because it was impossible. His daughters, Zoe and Isabella, the girls doctors said would never move again, were responding in ways that weren't supposed to be possible. But to understand why Raphael's hands were shaking as he stared at that screen, you have to go back 18 months. Back to the day his perfect life shattered like glass. Before we begin, click subscribe, like this video, and tell me where in the world you're watching from. I hope this story makes you believe that nothing is impossible if only you believe. Now, let's get back to the story. April 15th. Raphael remembers the date because it was supposed to be Celebration Day. His tech startup had just been acquired for $840 million. He was at the signing ceremony in Manhattan, champagne flowing, congratulations echoing off marble walls. He'd built something from nothing, a cybersecurity platform that Fortune 500 companies couldn't live without. At 35, he'd finally made it. His phone rang at 2:47 p.m. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. "Mr. Brown, this is Memorial Hospital. There's been an incident at your home. Your daughters." The champagne glass slipped from his fingers. Crystals shattered on marble. Nobody noticed. The room kept celebrating while Raphael's world ended. "What happened? Are they okay?" "Sir, you need to come to the hospital, now." The pool, that's what the detective told him later. His 4-year-old twins, Zoe and Isabella, had been playing in the backyard while their nanny scrolled through her phone. Zoe went into the water first. Maybe she leaned too far over the edge. Maybe she slipped. Isabella saw her sister struggling and jumped in to help. By the time the nanny looked up from her screen, both girls had been underwater for nearly 4 minutes. Raphael doesn't remember booking the flight from Manhattan to Boston, doesn't remember the cab ride to Memorial Hospital. Just the fluorescent lights, the smell of antiseptic, the sound of machines beeping in rhythm with his racing heart. A doctor with tired eyes met him outside the ICU. Dr. Morrison. Raphael would never forget that name. "Mr. Brown, your daughters are stable, but," he paused, "the way doctors do when they're about to destroy you. There was significant trauma, hypoxic brain injury, severe oxygen deprivation." "What does that mean?" Dr. Morrison pulled up scans on a tablet, brain images that looked like storm clouds. "It means the damage is catastrophic and irreversible. Both girls have severe spastic quadriplegia. They're paralyzed from the neck down." The hallway tilted. Raphael grabbed the wall. "Their bodies are rigid. They'll require ventilators, feeding tubes, and round-the-clock care." Dr. Morrison's voice softened, but his words didn't. "Mr. Brown, you need to prepare yourself. The girls you knew—" He stopped. "I'm so sorry. They're gone." Raphael walked into the ICU on legs that didn't feel like his own. Zoe and Isabella lay in separate beds, tubes and wires everywhere. Their small chests rose and fell only because machines made them. Their eyes, Rebecca's eyes, bright and full of mischief just that morning, stared at nothing. He stood between their beds, holding each tiny hand through the rails. "Daddy's here," he whispered. "Daddy's here now." Neither girl responded. The machines beeped, the ventilators hissed, and Raphael realized he was talking to bodies that no longer held his daughters. Catherine arrived 2 hours later. His wife of 8 years took one look at the girls and started sobbing. She couldn't stop. The nurses had to sedate her. For 6 months, Catherine tried. She really did. She'd sit by their beds, read them stories they couldn't hear, sing songs they couldn't process, but every day, Raphael watched his wife slip further away. "I can't do this," she told him one Tuesday evening. "I look at them and I see what we lost. I'm drowning, Raphael." "So am I," he said. "But we stay. We fight for them." "Fight for what?" Her voice cracked. "They're gone. The doctor said it. They're gone and we're keeping bodies alive." "Don't say that." "Why not? Because it's true?" Tears streamed down her face. "I can't watch them suffer. I can't watch you suffer. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." She left that night, packed 2 suitcases while Raphael was feeding Zoe through her tube. When he came out of the nursery, Catherine was gone. Divorce papers arrived through her lawyer 3 weeks later. Raphael signed them at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, sitting in the girls' room, listening to their ventilators breathe for them. "Before we continue, I want to hear from you. Have you ever felt completely powerless in a situation? How did you find the strength to keep going? Drop your story in the comments below. Your experience might inspire someone who needs it today." He made a promise to himself that night, staring at his paralyzed daughters in the dim nursery light. "I'll take care of you, no matter what. I won't leave." But grief doesn't teach you how to keep promises, it just teaches you how to survive. The first caregiver lasted 2 weeks. Elena, mid-30s, pediatric nursing degree, came from an agency that charged $5,000 just for the placement fee. She smiled during the interview, said all the right things. "I'll take good care of them, Mr. Brown, I promise." Raphael wanted to believe her. He'd installed a basic nanny cam in the nursery, just a precaution, nothing excessive. Normal parent stuff. Week 2, he came home early from a meeting and heard crying. Not Elena. The girls. He pulled up the camera feed on his phone. Elena was in the corner, FaceTiming someone, laughing. Zoe was choking on her feeding tube. The alarm had been beeping for 3 minutes. Raphael ran to the nursery, cleared Zoe's airway himself. His daughter could have died while her caregiver was on the phone. Elena was fired before she could grab her coat. Caregiver number 2 was Margaret. Older woman, 20 years of experience. References that called her a saint. Raphael thought maybe this time would be different. Then he went to London for a business trip. Couldn't sleep, so at 3 a.m. he opened the camera app. Margaret was asleep on the couch. The girls were calling from their beds, small, weak sounds that their damaged vocal cords could barely produce. "Help! Help us!" Margaret didn't move. Raphael saw the bruise on Isabella's arm. She'd fallen from her positioning chair earlier. Margaret's daily report said nothing about it. He fired her over video call. Number 3 posted on Instagram. Posted his daughters. Medical equipment, vacant eyes, the whole tragedy on display for likes and prayers. "Praying for these angels, #caregiver. Life, #special needs." She'd tagged their location, tagged the penthouse. Strangers knew where his vulnerable daughters lived. Raphael's lawyers sent a cease and desist. The caregiver cried, claimed she was just trying to spread awareness. She was gone by noon. Real talk. Do you think Raphael's surveillance was justified? Or did he go too far? Was he protecting his daughters or pushing away the help they needed? Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you're finding this story as gripping as I did writing it, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what happens next. Number 4 broke something inside him that didn't heal. Raphael was in London, checking the cameras during a meeting. A man was in his penthouse, a stranger, in the living room near the hallway that led to the nursery where his paralyzed daughters slept. The caregiver's boyfriend. She'd invited him over. Raphael left the meeting mid-presentation, flew home that night, walked into his penthouse at 6 a.m. and fired her on the spot. "You let a stranger into my home, near my daughters." "He's not a stranger. He's my boyfriend. Get out." After she left, Raphael stood in the nursery doorway, watching Zoe and Isabella sleep, and felt something inside him snap. Control. That's what he needed. Total control. Within a week, he'd installed 23 cameras throughout the penthouse. Every room, every angle, every corner. Feeds that went directly to his phone, tablet, and laptop. He could watch from anywhere. Tokyo, Dubai, New York, London. And he did, obsessively, during flights, in the middle of conference calls, at 3 a.m. when sleep wouldn't come. He watched, looking for threats, waiting for the next betrayal, waiting for someone to hurt his daughters again because he wasn't watching close enough. Caregiver number 5 quit after 3 days. "I can't work like this," she said, her voice shaking. "You're watching my every move. I went to the bathroom and you called to ask why I was gone for 7 minutes. This isn't normal." "Good," Raphael replied flatly. "That's the point." Number 6 lasted 2 weeks before accusing him of creating a prison environment. "Those girls need love, not surveillance," she said on her way out. "Those girls need protection," Raphael shot back. Number 7 walked out after he questioned why Isabella's bath took 5 extra minutes. "Are you serious right now?" She stared at him in disbelief. "I was being gentle. I was taking my time. Because she's a human being, not a task to be completed." "Then why didn't you note the extended time in your report?" She didn't even respond, just walked out. His assistant, Jennifer, came to his office the next day with a file of caregiver applications. Her face was carefully neutral. "Mr. Brown, we're having difficulty finding candidates. Your reputation, people are saying you're impossible to work for." "I don't care about my reputation," Raphael said, his voice cold. "I care about my daughters not being hurt again. If that makes me impossible, so be it." Jennifer set the files on his desk. "There's one more application. Her name is Mildred David." Raphael didn't look up. "Send her in Monday." He'd become something he didn't recognize. No longer a father, just a warden. Control had replaced love. Cameras had replaced presence. Distance had replaced connection. But it was the only way to protect them. Or so he told himself. Mildred David walked into his office on a Monday morning, wearing hospital scrubs and carrying a worn leather Bible. 24 years old, black woman with her hair pulled back in a neat bun. She sat across from his desk, back straight, hands folded, and didn't flinch when he slid the contract toward her. Raphael barely looked up from his laptop. "Miss David, I'll be direct. You'll be monitored constantly. Every room has cameras. Any deviation from the medical protocols will result in immediate termination." "I understand." "Do you?" He finally met her eyes. "My daughters are severely disabled. Hypoxic brain injury. Quadriplegia. They require precise care. No improvisation, no false hope. The doctors were very clear about their prognosis." Mildred held his gaze. "Mr. Brown, I understand your daughters have been hurt. I understand you're scared." Something in her voice made him pause. "But I didn't come here to follow protocols," she continued, her tone gentle but firm. "I came here to care for Zoe and Isabella. There's a difference." Raphael should have ended the interview right there. Should have shown her the door like he'd done with candidates who questioned his methods. Instead, he heard himself say, "You start tomorrow. 7 a.m. sharp, 18 an hour. Don't make me regret this." Mildred didn't smile, just nodded once. "I won't." The next morning, Raphael watched from his downtown office as Mildred entered the nursery at exactly 7 a.m. She greeted the night nurse, reviewed the overnight reports, checked the girls' vitals. All protocol, all correct. Then she did something that made him lean closer to his screen. She sat down on the floor between Zoe and Isabella's specialized beds, opened her Bible, and began to pray. Raphael's finger hovered over the intercom button. This wasn't in the protocol. The girls had scheduled spiritual care on Wednesdays with a hospital chaplain. Random prayer wasn't part of the plan, but he didn't press it. He watched. "Good morning, Zoe," Mildred said softly. "Good morning, Isabella. My name is Mildred. I'm going to be taking care of you from now on." She paused, looked at each girl's face. "And before we do anything else, I want to pray for you." Her prayers weren't formal, weren't rehearsed. She spoke like she was talking to God in her kitchen. "Lord, these precious babies have been through so much. The world says they're broken. The doctors say they're gone. Her voice caught. But I know you see them differently. You see Zoe and Isabella. You see their spirits, their souls, everything that makes them who they are. She reached out, touched each girl's hand. Show me how to love them the way you do. Show me how to reach them. Give me patience and wisdom and faith, because Lord knows I'm going to need all three. Then she stood, kissed each girl's forehead, and began her work with a tenderness that made Raphael's throat tight. She sang while she worked. Old hymns, gospel songs, her grandmother's favorites, she'd told him later. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. She talked to the girls constantly, not at them, to them. Okay, Zoe, we're going to do your range of motion exercises now. I'm going to move your arm, baby, nice and slow. You tell me if anything hurts, okay? I'm listening. Raphael watched, waiting for her to fail, waiting for the mistake that would prove she was like all the others. It didn't come. Day 3. Raphael was in a meeting when his phone buzzed. He pulled up camera 9. Mildred was singing. Some old spiritual he didn't recognize. She had Isabella's arms in her hands, moving them in gentle, rhythmic patterns, and Isabella's fingers twitched. Raphael's breath caught. He leaned closer to the screen. Coincidence. Had to be. Muscle spasm. But then it happened again. In rhythm with the music, like Isabella's body was trying to respond. He watched for 20 minutes, his meeting forgotten. Day 5. Isabella's eyes tracked Mildred across the room. Not the vacant stare Raphael had grown used to. Actual focus. Actual presence. Her eyes followed Mildred from the changing table to the medicine cart and back. Raphael's chest tightened. This couldn't be real. Dr. Morrison had been clear. The girls you knew are gone. But something in Isabella's eyes looked aware. Day 7. Raphael was in Singapore, closing a tech deal. It was 11 p.m. local time when he checked the cameras one last time before bed. Mildred should have left at 6. It was past 11. She was still there, sitting on the floor between the girls' beds, holding both their hands. Tears streamed down her face. Raphael turned up the volume on his phone. I see you, babies, Mildred whispered. God sees you. You're not gone. You're right here with me. She sang softly. A hymn. Her voice cracked with emotion. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Zoe's head turned, just slightly, just a fraction of an inch, but it turned toward Mildred's voice. Raphael sat up in his hotel bed, his heart pounding. That's it, Zoe, Mildred breathed. That's my girl. You hear me, don't you? You're in there. I know you are. She stayed another hour, singing, praying, holding their hands. Raphael watched from 8,000 miles away, something cracking open in his chest, something he'd buried 18 months ago when Catherine left. Something the doctors had killed when they said gone. Hope. And it terrified him, because what if he hoped and nothing changed? What if Mildred was wrong? What if this was just another betrayal, but worse, a betrayal of possibility? He couldn't survive that. He'd barely survived everything else. So he closed the app, turned off his phone, and tried not to think about the way his daughter had turned her head toward the sound of someone who believed she was still there. 3 weeks after Mildred started, Raphael was in Singapore closing a deal with a Japanese tech firm. His phone rang during lunch. Dr. Morrison. His stomach dropped. What's wrong? Are the girls okay? Mr. Brown, they're fine. Better than fine, actually. Dr. Morrison paused. I examined them this morning. I need to tell you something. Raphael's grip tightened on his phone. What? Their muscle tone is improving, significantly. I'm seeing neural responses we haven't documented since before the accident. The restaurant noise faded. What are you saying? I'm saying something has changed. Their reflexes are more responsive. Zoe turned her head toward the sound stimuli. Isabella's fingers showed voluntary movement during testing. Dr. Morrison's voice carried something Raphael hadn't heard in 18 months. Hope. Mr. Brown, what changed? I hired a new caregiver, Mildred. Whatever she's doing, it's working. I'm documenting everything. I've contacted a neuroplasticity specialist at Johns Hopkins. This shouldn't be possible, but... He stopped. I think we need to revise our assessment. After the call ended, Raphael sat in the restaurant, staring at nothing. Businessmen laughed and clinked glasses around him. None of it registered. His daughters, the girls Dr. Morrison said were gone. They were improving. That night, 3 a.m., Raphael couldn't sleep. He opened his laptop and typed, "Hypoxic brain injury, recovery children." Pages flooded his screen. Medical journals, case studies, research papers. Early intensive intervention in pediatric hypoxic injury demonstrates remarkable neural adaptation. Children's brains exhibit extraordinary neuroplasticity. New neural pathways can form, bypassing damaged areas. Critical window for recovery, ages 0 to 7. Consistent, intensive stimulation shows significant improvement in motor function, cognitive response, and sensory processing. Zoe and Isabella were 5. Still in the window. Raphael read for 3 hours, study after study, case after case. Children with injuries similar to his daughters. Children who improved, who recovered, who came back. It was all here. Published, proven, scientifically supported. And he'd never looked, not once in 18 months. He'd taken Dr. Morrison's first assessment, "They're gone," and accepted it as final. Buried hope alongside Catherine's departure. Spent 18 months watching his daughters through screens instead of fighting for them. Mildred, making $1 an hour, had done what his millions couldn't do. Because she believed. Raphael put his head in his hands and wept. 2 days later, he flew home early. Didn't tell anyone. Just boarded a plane Thursday afternoon and landed in Boston by evening. He walked into the penthouse at 7 p.m. Mildred should have left an hour ago, but he heard music coming from the nursery. Gospel music, and her voice singing along. Raphael stood in the doorway. Mildred was on the floor with Isabella. She had Isabella's arms in her hands, moving them in slow, rhythmic patterns. Not the prescribed physical therapy exercises, something else, something that looked almost like dancing, Mildred said softly to Isabella. "We're dancing, baby girl. Just you and me." "What exactly are you doing?" Raphael's voice came out harder than he intended. Mildred didn't stop the movements, didn't look up. Motor pattern training, helping her brain remember what movement feels like. "That's not in the protocol." "No, sir, it's not." Raphael stepped into the room. "I gave you specific instructions. Follow the medical plan. No improvisation." Mildred gently lowered Isabella's arms and stood. Turned to face him. Her eyes were calm, steady. "Mr. Brown, the protocol you gave me was about keeping them alive, not bringing them back. The doctors told you statistics." Her voice stayed even, but there was fire underneath. "They looked at scans and numbers and told you what usually happens." She took a breath. "But they didn't tell you about Zoe and Isabella, your daughters. These specific, individual, unique girls who are fighting every single day to come back to you. They're not fighting. They can't. They're..." He couldn't say it. "Gone?" Mildred's voice softened. "Is that what you were going to say?" Raphael's jaw clenched. "Mr. Brown, have you sat with them?" She gestured to the beds. "Not watched them on cameras. Sat with them, held their hands. Talked to them." "I check on them constantly. Through a screen." She shook her head. "When's the last time you were in this room?" "Actually, in this room?" Raphael opened his mouth, closed it. He didn't have an answer. "They're not gone," Mildred said, her voice cracking. "They're right here. They've been right here this whole time, fighting harder than anyone knows. They just needed someone to fight with them. She turned back to Isabella, knelt beside her bed. Isn't that right, baby girl? You're a fighter. Isabella's eyes moved, focused on Mildred's face. Raphael's breath caught. Stay, Mildred said quietly. Please, just sit with them. They need their daddy, not surveillance. You. Raphael left that night, flew back to Singapore, but Mildred's words followed him. When's the last time you were actually in that room? He pulled up the camera feeds during his next meeting, watched Mildred work, the way she sang to the girls, the way she moved their limbs with such care, the way she kissed their foreheads and whispered encouragement. You're doing so good, Zoe. So good. I'm so proud of you. The way she loved them. And he realized she wasn't their caregiver. She was their lifeline. Monday afternoon, Raphael was in a Singapore boardroom, 20 investors, a deal worth $300 million. The meeting had been scheduled for months. His phone buzzed on the table. Camera 9, motion alert. He tried to ignore it, focused on the presentation, the projections, the numbers. It buzzed again. Excuse me, Raphael said, picking up his phone. I need to check this. He opened the app. What he saw made his phone slip from his hands. The nursery, Mildred kneeling in the center of the room, arms stretched wide, tears streaming down her face. Come on, babies. You can do it. I'm right here. Zoe and Isabella weren't in their beds. They were on the floor, on their stomachs, and they were moving. Zoe's head lifted, her neck muscles strained. 3 seconds, 5 seconds. She held her head up, looking at Mildred. Isabella's arms trembled. She pushed against the mat. Her upper body lifted, just inches, but it lifted. Yes, Mildred sobbed. Yes, look at you. Look at both of you. The girls collapsed, exhausted. Mildred gathered them into her arms, crying, laughing. I knew it. I knew you could. God, I knew it. Raphael's phone hit the conference table, then the floor. Investors turned, startled. He didn't see them. His knees buckled. He grabbed the edge of the table to stay upright. 18 months. 18 months of doctors saying gone. Of Catherine leaving because she couldn't watch them suffer. Of 7 failed caregivers. Of cameras and control and distance. And his daughters, his baby girls, were pushing themselves up, were fighting their way back. Mr. Brown, are you all right? He couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. His chest cracked open. Everything he'd held back, the grief, the guilt, the fear, the exhausting, crushing weight of it all, came pouring out. He sank into a chair, gasping sobs he couldn't control. My daughters, he finally managed. They're coming back. 14 hours later, Raphael walked into his penthouse at dawn. The city was still dark. He'd left the investors mid-meeting, booked the first flight home, barely remembered the journey. He pushed open the nursery door. Mildred sat on the floor, both girls in her lap. She was reading to them. A children's book about a little engine climbing a mountain. She looked up. Mr. Brown, you're home early. Raphael crossed the room, fell to his knees beside them. His hands shook as he touched Zoe's face, then Isabella's. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. Zoe's fingers twitched, then closed around his thumb. Light pressure, but real, intentional. Isabella's eyes focused on his face, really focused, really saw him. Hi, Daddy, Mildred whispered for them. We missed you. Raphael pulled all 3 into his arms, his daughters and this woman who'd refused to give up on them. Thank you, he breathed. Thank you for giving them back. Mildred shook her head gently. No, sir. They were never gone. They just needed someone to see them. She paused. And they needed their daddy to be here, not watching from 8,000 miles away. Raphael nodded, unable to speak. I'm here now, he finally said. I'm not leaving again. That afternoon, Raphael walked into his office, looked at the monitors mounted on the wall, all 23 camera feeds. He reached up and switched them off, all of them. Then he called his assistant. Jennifer, cancel my travel for the next 3 months, everything. Mr. Brown, you have the Tokyo summit next week. The London investors, cancel it all. Sir, my daughters need me here, not on a screen, here. There was a pause. Then, yes, Mr. Brown, I'll handle it. That evening, Raphael sat on the nursery floor. Mildred taught him the exercises, the songs, the prayers, showed him how to move their limbs, how to encourage them, how to believe. Zoe lifted her head for 7 seconds. Isabella's fingers wiggled when he spoke her name. Small things, impossible things. Catherine should see this, Raphael whispered. Maybe someday, Mildred said gently. But right now, they need you to see it. Raphael looked at his daughters, really looked, not at broken children, not at tragedy, at warriors, at fighters who'd been climbing their way back while he'd been watching from a distance. I see you, he told them, his voice breaking. I see you fighting, and I'm fighting with you now, I promise. The camera in the corner sat dark and silent, but the nursery was full of light. So what do you think? Could Raphael have found this breakthrough sooner if he'd let go of control earlier? And have you ever witnessed a recovery or transformation that doctors said was impossible? Share your thoughts and stories below. And if this story moved you the way it moved me, subscribe and share it with someone who needs to believe in miracles today.